Hello everybody and welcome back to Punting Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler and this is Mono White Angels. This is a deck that I could see myself getting into Pioneer for. This looks like a blast, okay? I want to shout out Saborde Soul Old Dad. I don't know. It's a Magic Online name I can't pronounce, but maybe Sabord Soul Dad can show up in the comments and take their bow for 5-0ing with this list, because this is incredible. Well, you know how good double face cards are from Zendikar Rising. You see it here. Emeria's Call. Create 2/4/4 white angels. Non-angels get indestructible until your next turn. So, powerful card here at 7 mana, or it's a land. And that's, I guess, the inspiration for the deck, because look at what we've got here. 1-drop spot. Thraben Inspector. This is a value card we've seen pop up a lot in formats over the years. Selfless Savior is a nice one as well. It's a new edition. It's a cute little dog. You can sacrifice itself to keep something safe. Excuse me. Still at the bottom here, we've got the Daxos here. This was kind of the flex spot, I assume. Gauge you some life, you can get big. But now we're talking here. Well, let's get going. Bishop of Wings. When an angel enters battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life, which is, in fact, a lot of life. And then when an angel you control dies, create a spirit. It's a 1/4 for 2 mana, so it blocks pretty well. Something else that blocks well, Knight of the White Orchid, sorry. When it enters battlefield, if your opponent has more lands, you get planes put into play untapped. You get to steal the play from your opponent, and hey, it's a 2/2 first striker. So now we're going to get some of these angels. Notice that the Bishop of Wings, not an angel, but it does trigger off of angels and life. Well, here's one. Resplendent Angel. 3 mana, 3/3, but at the end step, if you gain 5 or more life, you get a 4/4 angel. And you can pay 6 mana to give this angel +2/+2 in lifelink, which will trigger it. But Bishop of Wings will gain you 4. To trigger the Resplendent Angel, you need 5, so you just need to get 1 more from somewhere, and we have ways to do that. We have Gideon here. It's a powerful card. Skyclave Apparition, a new addition from Zendikar Rising. Also, just generically powerful, not an angel, but here we go. Legion Angel. It's a 4/3, another Zendikar Rising card. You can get a card named Legion Angel you own outside the game, put it in your hand. So that is why you'll notice we have 2 more Legion Angels in the sideboard. Then Archangel of Tithes. I love this one. It's a 3/5 for 4, but if it's untapped, creatures can't attack your Planeswalker unless they pay 1. And if it's attacking, your opponents can't block unless they pay 1 for each creature. More angels. Angel of Sanctions. Now we have some removal and embalm action out of our angels. Lyra Dawnbringer. That pumps all the angels. That's an angel lord. And it's got some lifelink. And of course, this makes more angels. So everybody, it is Mono White Angels. And by the way, all of these things I mentioned, these are all really cool cards. The fact is, we also get advantage of a powerful mana base here, even though we're in Mono White. You get access to the Castle Ardenvale to make the 1/1 some late game power. 14 planes means you're immune to a lot of those effects. But also, obviously, this is the huge one here. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. It is an incredible card for making a lot of mana, and this deck has a lot of ways to get devotion into play. You know, we got the 1-drops, the 2-drops all have the white symbols. All of these 3-drops have multiple white symbols. Literally every card in our deck that costs 2 or more mana has at least 2 white symbols. So big devotion possible with this deck, and that's why we have Quarantine Field to pay it off. You can get non-land permanents opponents have with that Quarantine Field. So onto the sideboard here. Somewhat straightforward. I kind of We just played some cards, right? We'll figure it out. Deafening Silence comes in the right matchups. Pithing Needle is a catch-all. Here's the Legion Angels we talked about. We can get access to those. We have Containment Priest if our opponents try to do something cheeky. Rest in Peace for graveyards. Tithe Taker. I assume that this is something we can bring in when we're on the play against control or something. In place of Knight of the White Orchid, maybe. It's a grid card. Makes their spells cost more. Leaves a body behind when it dies. And then Baffling End for removal and an Elspeth Sun's Champion. This card's just generically powerful when you get into a mid-range grind battle. Everybody, it is Mono White Tribal Angels in Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler. Let's get to the games. All right, here we go. Mono White Angels. I have to say, this hand seems pretty medium. It's got 3-drops, but with the double Nykthos, it's kind of already a mulligan, so I think we try to look for something better, and this is probably it here. I think we ship the Lyra is the 5-drop. Keep the rest. And you know what? We've got a 1, a 3, and a 4. Let's see what our opponent's up to here. And there's the Castle Ardenvale. So, all right. We now have the lands to cast all of our creatures. Our creatures are pretty nice. And we've got a Castle Ardenvale for the late game here. Green-black out of our opponent, and okay, transgress the mind. That's kind of like Agonizing Remorse. CMC 3 or greater, exile that card. So probably going to say goodbye to our Resplendent Angel, if I had to guess. See if we draw something to actually play anything anytime soon. Not yet. Well, okay. Excuse me. Attacking our hand. Let's see where they follow it up with here. A Tireless Tracker. That's a pretty good one. Yeah. Drawing all these lands, not exactly where we want to be. I mean, Tireless Tracker is a very powerful late game engine, right? But we'll see. I suppose if they have lands, that's good for them. If they don't, that's good for them. Why landfall is such a good mechanic. There you go. All right, it's a tap land and the clue token. So, all right, well, right on time. There's a Resplendent Angel, but I guess we'll attack first here. The nice thing is, though, you know, it feels like we're behind, but the Selfless Savior, it's kind of just a piece that was sort of in play all along, right? We just slam it on turn 1, and now all of a sudden we look a lot better because even though our opponent is really doing what they want to do here with the clues and everything, we at least have protection against one removal spell, right? The first Fatal Push, which is now we can stop. So unfortunately, that means our opponent probably has more Fatal Pushes where that came from. But hey, I mean, we got to go through them one way or another, right? And to be fair, they probably do that whether they have it or not. They're going to have to pay to do this. Yeah, we're taxing them. We're doing it. I'm not going to block. They could sack the clue. That would be very bad for us. That said, this isn't killing us particularly fast. And, you know, hitting the Bishop of Wings there is not a bad draw because now we get to play the Resplendent Angel and, in theory, get some get a life gain trigger off of it. Well, we got our hit in, too. I don't know what our opponent actually has. This worked out better than I might have hoped, honestly. They're going to be able to crack the clue. Look, they're going to have 5 cards in hand. They're going to go up to 6 cards when they draw. You know, this game is far from over, and I don't really know that we're going to win it, but we are in a better position than I thought we would be in. All right, there's a Grasp of Darkness on the Resplendent Angel. I see. Actually, the Archangel of Tithes was, in fact, immune to -4/-4. But at least we get our Spirit token out of the deal. And the life isn't irrelevant either, because at this point, we're basically racing this Tireless Tracker, even though it is getting pretty big. But we have Castle Ardenvale. We can make blockers for a long time. The real problem is that our opponent just has access to this steady stream of cards. Right? I don't really know what we're hoping for to get out of this one. Just a lot of whiffs on their part. Instead, it's a Languish, which is really just a 1-for-1, though. They missed out on some damage, even. The second Archangel of Tithes. Well, if one is good, more is better, right? Let's get in there. I don't know. We're very, very far behind, it feels like. But all of a sudden, we're sitting with 6 power in play, and our opponent has 12 life. I can take one more hit from this tracker here, and then next turn I can start making Castle Ardenvale tokens to at least attempt to block. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll see what we hit as well on the draw step here, because, you know, I might have to keep one back to block. That said, I have to say, Thraben Inspector, possibly the best draw in the deck, at least very close to it, because what it is our opponent, Vraska's Contempts one of these here, so we've still got a ways to go, but this is actually one of the few things that provided us 2 blockers, because we're able to play the Thraben Inspector, pass the turn, and still be able to activate the Castle Ardenvale to get a second chump blocker. Now, I don't know if all that's going to matter. Our opponent, 11 life, 5 cards in hand, and we're not quite out of gas here, and given that we can crack the clue, but this game is slipping away pretty quickly. Especially the old Nissa flip here. They might make a Shia. They might plus it. More card advantage for them. I'm actually going to choose to make a Shia. Well, at least that means I can kill this, in theory. No trample, which is good. I'm just so far behind, though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how we're supposed to get out of this. Our opponent is playing a very, very fair deck. It's like green-black fair cards. And it's doing what green-black tends to do, as a matter of fact. And we didn't have a particularly powerful draw. We mulliganed, it happens. And the game was still close, but certainly did not really draw what we needed to close the gap. And the thing is, I have to send this at the Nissa. Okay, well, we'll play our Resplendent Angel. I suppose if there's a world in which we untap with the Resplendent Angel, we can pay mana, turn it into a 5/5 with lifelink, gain some life back, basically be breaking even with the Ashai at that point, and make an Angel. I mean, these are routes to victory, but our opponent has 6 cards in their hand. We're pretty much one removal spell away from, I think, closing the door on this one. Especially since we're just chump blocking. Just really hosed by the Tireless Tracker, weren't we? Now, to be fair, if any of these angels we drew were, say, our Angel of Sanctions, that could get rid of the Tireless Tracker, that might have done a little work. But as it stands, this card just destroyed us in this game. It has 4 counters. That's because they've sacrificed 4 clues. That's how you know just how far behind you are. Quite a bit. But let's see what they have here. I mean, look, the reality is, though, flyers can be difficult to deal with, especially if they don't have, access to all the removal. That is an interesting one. Okay, they're killing their own Ashaya. Just because they have all the gas they need, it seems. And why not? They're back up to 6 cards in hand. They just keep wiping the board, making clues, drawing cards. That's going to get it done. I think I get 0 more draw steps with that Fatal Push. Good game. All right, another Angel. Onto the sideboard here. Try not to lose to Tireless Tracker this time around. Legion Angels seem good. This is where we want the Elspeth for sure. Baffling End does hit it. I don't actually know if I can choose Clue with this or not. But also, I have clues, so I probably don't even want to do that. I'll get a couple of these Baffling Ends in here. We'll cut some of the more expensive angels, I suppose. Not really sure what you want this deck to look like. Honestly, I think I'd rather have the Tithe Takers. At least some amount of Tithe Taker, anyway. We're on the play, so let's give the Tithe Takers a shot, actually. They seem like they attack pretty well. And this looks like a keep to me. We're going to need some white mana here, but we've got the clue to try to dig for that. I mean, maybe eventually we'll even cast this 9 to the White Orchid. One more land. I mean, I say one more land. One more non-Nykthos land, and I think we'll be okay. Oh, that wasn't it. And that actually means all we can do is crack the clue. Well, okay, fair enough. There it is. Having the planes on 2 would have been ideal, but having the planes on 3 is just fine, I think. Especially our opponent playing some tap lands. Well, they don't have the mana base, but they do have all the cards. So, tap lands aside, this is actually a pretty good run for the deck, I think. Just, you know, seeing what these green-black removal card advantage dot decks sort of look like here. Don't have to worry about budget concerns or any mana base if you play mono white angels. Am I right? Am I right? I don't actually know. Nykthos might be expensive these days. This was a solid start, though. I mean, look, cracking your clue on 2 is not really what you want to do, but that's why Thraben Inspector is such a good card. As a 1/2, it does a little bit of blocking, right? It can block. It occasionally comes up, right? At least holds off 1/1 tokens, but it just is a curve filler. You saw it in that first game where we were able to play it and activate Castle Ardenvale. In this game, we were able to play it and have a play on turn 2 for cracking that clue that we otherwise wouldn't have had. And that's what Thraben Inspector, why we've seen it over the years, you know, previously in Modern, now in a lower powered format like Pioneer. But a card I'd like to see in Historic, frankly. It's a just a really, really solid design. Meanwhile, our opponent is transgressing our mind, and they've exiled our Lyra Dawnbringer. But you know what? That's just fine, especially if we find lands. We didn't. All right, I have to hit stuff I don't control. This makes 3 mana right now, so it breaks even. I guess I have to attack and play the Knight of the White Orchid for no value, outside of, you know, being an attacker. Because it means that next turn I can activate the Nykthos for 5 mana. So if our opponent plays anything besides just wrathing the board here, like, say, this Tireless Tracker, I'll be able to make enough mana to Angel of Sanctions this thing away. Or just activate the Resplendent Angel, honestly. Do I have enough for that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. I do have enough. I do kind of want to play around Languish, so I don't know that I want to add one of these to the board. You know what? I don't. As a matter of fact, I've made up my mind. Let's just go for it. This is the turn we are able to get in with this, so let's do it. You know, that's one of the reasons, and this is something you have to do, and this is, look, I'm not saying I'm great for doing this. It's kind of the plays you learn to make over time, but when you're playing against a deck, a control deck, and, you know, whether this is a mid-range deck, whatever, this is the deck playing the Wraths that want to board wipe us, like this Languish here. So instead of playing out a creature, I was able to make the most of the creatures I had in play, and that's why we were able to get that done. Now, this is actually neat. Well, I suppose I was going to say I could just use this. I could hit the clue, but you can't actually. It's non-token. Good to know. That makes sense. Is this the same? Nope, non-land permanent. Perfect. So we can play the Angel of Sanctions, exile the clue. Doesn't matter if you get rid of the Angel or not. That clue's never coming back. We did it. We answered their landfall trigger. We did it. But honestly, it's just about having a threat. Our opponent is at 9. That's 3 hits from this 3/4. They have so far to go, although Dark Petition will help get you there. They get to add 3 mana to their pool here because they have Spell Mastery. And they have another land. So they're going to have 4 mana to do whatever they just tutored for. And I guess it's a hero's downfall to kill the Angel of Sanctions. So, probably not the best. I can bring that thing back at some point. I can also just play more. I don't know what to do here. Kind of just want to play this. I think it's all the same, basically, right? All I can really do is add 3 power to the board here unless I want to play the Gideon. But I don't want to play the Gideon because I want to be able to go double 3 next turn with the Gideon and the Skyclave Apparition if we hit a land. Or even if we don't, we can probably make that work. All right, Seasons Past. So it's Seasons Past Control. This was a standard deck back in the day and a pretty good one. Top 8 at a Pro Tour. Return any number of cards with different CMCs to your hand. That was 4. That was 1 spell. Get back 4 of the best cards you've played. Pretty solid. Which is good to know because now we've got to attack into it, right? We've got our opponent down to 6 with this. Well, Languish doesn't hit Archangel of Tithes. That's the one I'm going to play. Alternatively, could I play Gideon? I can't, because once I do the 3, I can't activate the Nykthos. So, can't do anything too silly. I think I'll settle for just playing the Archangel of Tithes, because, look, we have 6 power in the air. That's lethal. Our opponent cannot Languish away the 3/5. You can't cast Languish in our attack step to not die. You need actual removal, which means you're going to have to Dark Petition for something. So, that seems good for us. Or they're forced into this route where they're just 1-for-1-ing our creatures, which is what we really want because we have access to the Unearth, or rather the Embalm here from the Angel of Sanctions. And now our opponent's burned a couple heroes' downfalls, and we can play a Gideon. Nothing to exile with this. I guess we just pass. I forgot to activate this. It's weird. It doesn't really matter. Honestly, I don't think the Gideon's power or loyalty is going to be particularly relevant this game. It gets to attack them next turn, and if they play something, it can fog it. Its loyalty outside of that doesn't matter much. It has 2 zeros and a +1. If our opponent gets to a point that they're attacking our Gideon with a creature, a non-haste creature, we're in trouble. But I think it's more likely they're just running this Dark Petition for another answer to Gideon. Could also go for something like another Seasons Past. Reload again. Our opponent's deck is built to go long, that's for sure. They're not even playing any permanents I can hit with this Angel and the Skyclave Apparition. Like, come on. Give me a target. Huh? Guess they're thinking it through with the Dark Petition here. I mean, Gideon is a little bit of a difficult one to answer, depending on how many Heroes Downfall type cards they have in their deck. But I guess we're about to find out what they got. Alright, it is a Vraska's Contempt. Gideon's gone. They're back up to 8. Fair enough. Well, we got some lands now. I guess it's mostly the same. The difference is when they attack our hand, I suppose. So I'll actually play the one from my hand here. Because I have to play something, right? We've got to play an attacker. Our opponent, honestly, looks like they might get through this. I thought between the Embalm, between the Planeswalker, I thought that we might actually be able to just work our way through all of their removal, and we're not there yet. They have 3 cards left. We have access to some Embalm. And I guess now access to a Selfless Savior. So the Selfless Savior is not a bad draw. It allows us to protect this Angel of Sanctions token, which is, for all intents and purposes, just a 3/4 flyer that we're going to hope attacks 3 times. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand to try to answer it right now. It just depends on whether they have another reload card. You can see now why something like Foul Orchid is pretty good, and why it doesn't really matter what tap lands your opponents have, because this deck just does this. Just kills everything over and over again. Alright, well, I could play the Bishop of Wings. Not going to. I'm just going to play this. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. Let's just kill him. Just let them draw lands. Let us attack for 3 a couple turns in a row here. This thing's going to need to go the distance too, because not a lot of help waiting in the wings of our hand. Except for there's a Bishop of Wings pun, I'm sorry. Well, there you go. Alright, Transgressive Mind. That's going to whiff. That's what happens when you play discard spells and you draw them late. We're coming in for 4 by my count. I suppose I will play this just because this way, if my opponent has a removal spell for our Angel token, it's still lethal. We don't lose lose. We can still win through a Fatal Push on this turn. And there you go. It took all of it. Took every resource we had. The last Embalm, essentially, gets us there. Now what? Now what? This thing survived. This Skyclave Apparition seems medium. The Knight of the White Orchids are what we want, I think, on the draw here. But I also want the Tithe Takers. We really just saw the Tile Tracker from our opponent. I don't even know if I want... As a matter of fact, I probably don't even want any Baffling Ends, right? I just want all Skyclave Apparitions. I certainly don't think I want, you know, fewer creatures in my deck right now, so... Give this a shot. I also don't think I was right to cut Thraben Inspectors. I think we're getting a little closer to what we actually want our deck to look like now. And cut a Quarantine Field, too. We don't need all these big mana payoffs and things that answer the board. We just need to kill our opponent. They're going to do nothing but play removal and board wipes and languishes and stuff like that. And this hand is all the things we do not want. Now, I do like the Legion Angel in it, but there's no way I can keep this hand, especially, you know, you're already mulliganing with double Nykthos, and that's fine. You know, some hands you keep double Nykthos and they're good. This is not one of them. We'll ship that. And we'll keep this. This looks much better. And I guess the Lyra goes on the bottom. You know, the thing is, it's a 5-drop. We already have 5-drop. We only have 3 lands. So even if I were to put back a land, with, you know, and hope to draw them, well, then we still have cards we can't play. So this is the one that basically we get 2 uses out of thanks to Embalm, which was not true of the Lyra. So let's see what we can do here. Thraben Inspector can make a clue. We've got a Bishop of Wings on 2. And looks like that might be all of the action we have for a little bit. But you know what? Bishop of Wings does attack. Every point matters. We'll swing in for 2 and force our opponent to burn a board wipe on these, right? And if our opponent has a languish that they want to use on these creatures, that's fine. Now, our opponent drawing this Tireless Tracker is frankly a much bigger problem for us. Well, we have some answers. I guess it's really just a question of how much value does our opponent get off of this Tireless Tracker before we can answer it, and what does that do over the course of the game? The Tireless Tracker that they played on turn 3 is not going to win the game on turn 3 or 4 or 5. But when we answer it on 5, it might win the game on turn 9 or 10 when the couple of clues they've gotten from it come back to win them the game. That's the way it might go. Let's crack our own clues here. Well, we just got clues for days. I have no attacks, so we just got to pass. Both players just churning through their decks, I guess. So the thing is, though, this actually works a little better for us. Now, obviously, we have to spend a card to get our clue tokens in the Thraben Inspectors, but those Thraben Inspectors do have a little value. Remember I talked about that. Now, when we untap, it's a weird board for our opponent to board wipe, right? They're not going to do that. But when we untap an Angel of Sanctions away this Tireless Tracker, all of a sudden, we're attacking for 4 damage with 3 cards that replace themselves. And that's just huge. Now, I say that. Our opponent is just absolutely going bonkers with clue tokens and Tireless Trackers, but and we'll see if the Angel of Sanctions can even that up a little bit. We can get this one. We gain some life for what that's worth, which, you know, isn't much, frankly. But I guess we get in our attack. Hey, we gain some life. I think this is a safe attack. Our opponent can't crack a clue to eat our Bishop of Wings. So all they can do is take out a Thraben Inspector. And we got in 3 damage. Doesn't seem that relevant, except recall the game that we won by poking in for 3 in the air repeatedly. That's 1 less swing from this Angel of Sanctions down the road. Now, we do still have to answer another Tireless Tracker, and our opponent is very far ahead of us on cards. We have got a long way to go in this one. I wonder if this means they're going to languish here. Vraska's Contempt. Well, unfortunately for us, Vraska's Contempt is the perfect answer to that card because it's exiled now. I don't get another crack at it. But what I do have is a second Angel of Sanctions to hit this Tireless Tracker again. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get there, though. I mean, I'm swinging. We have another crew we can crack. We have good cards, but our opponent having both a second tracker. Oh, my gosh. Well, okay. Guess that's an interesting play. I just don't know if we can beat the stream of clues. I don't think we can. It's close. We needed more damage, though. We needed more flyers. We needed to answer that Tireless Tracker. And I don't think we're going to get it. I can't block. They can just crack clues to win the combat. We've got some life to work with to try to race, but we're so far behind right now. It's going to be rough. I'll tell you, though. That's an answer. That's a heck of a card to draw right now. That might give us a chance. All right, I'm going to crack this clue. Nykthos means that things get really interesting. Now, I can't do anything too crazy. As a matter of fact, this only makes 1 mana right now. But that's okay. Skyclave Apparition plus Gideon is what that means. Alright, what do we do with Gideon? I guess I just fog this thing. That way, if my opponent has some kind of answer to the Skyclave Apparition, maybe I'm supposed to do that the other way. Maybe I'm supposed to Apparition first. There's no way we ever hit anything with Gideon, though. All right, I mean, this is what it is. So our opponent now gets to cash in 1 billion clues. However, we've at least stemmed the bleeding for the moment. Now, when our opponent, you know, untaps for their turn and plays a Languish and wipes our board and gets back a 3/3 for their trouble from this apparition, now we're going to be in trouble. All right, we'll deal with that when we come to it. But for the moment, we have a good-looking board. And you know what? Nissa Vastwood Seer is either it means we're very far behind or it means our opponent does not have the board wipe. It probably means we're very far behind, though. Wow, it doesn't. A tireless tracker. Okay. The game is not over. We are behind, but the game is not over yet. If my opponent makes a 4/4 with Nissa, I can kill the Nissa. And if they do this, we get a big swing in. As a matter of fact, I get a very big swing in. And keep in mind, I have the mana to do all of this. So I can hit my opponent for 3, 5, 6, 7. Of course, I can hit my opponent for 11. Oh, no. If it becomes a 4/4, not a 5/5, I can get him for 11. That's not enough. Oh, man. Well, then, in that case, I don't think it changes the play that much, though. Turn Gideon into a 4/4. Let's go ahead and do this. I believe I can still do enough. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, plenty. Well, maybe I can play better since we have the Castle Ardenvale. What happens if I do it like this? Alright, so we Skyclave Apparition, getting rid of the tireless tracker. I could also get rid of this thing. It is non-land, non-token permanent. I could hit the Nissa. This makes him a 4/4 next turn. Or that draws him a card. It's that or get rid of this so that the Gideon can get through. But the Gideon's going to get through regardless, unless I want to chump block. So it's a difference between how we want to do it. Alternatively, I can hit the tracker and I can just attack this thing. That's probably better. I am still a little concerned about, say, a Fatal Push. But I think it is what it is. We've just got to go for it and hope that this works out the way we want it to. All right, but now I can fire up the Nykthos for more here. We'll see if I did enough for it to matter. 10? Yeah, I did. Down to 6 for the Archangel of Tithes. That one survives a Languish. And now I have enough to make a token for good measure. All right, so this is not lethal, right? It is 1, 2, 5, 9, 11. That doesn't do it, so we're sending the Gideon at Nissa. And hope that this works. It looks like it did. And we'll see what happens. Our opponent didn't have a board wipe last turn. They had a tireless tracker in a Nissa, and we were able to decimate that. So they're going to have a board wipe now. And when they do, it needs to be a board wipe that answers Archangel of Tithes. Now, of course, a board wipe means a few other things, right? It also means that they get back this Tireless Tracker when this Angel of Sanctions leaves play. This one, underneath the Skyclave Apparition, these two, would actually just, they get 3/3 slimes or whatever they get. They get 3/3 blue illusions. So they're going to have the board wipe. They do end up with good creatures, with a board state of their own after that, but they're at 5 and they have to answer the flyer we're going to have. So, as well as the Gideon we're going to have. So it's a difficult position we've put our opponent in here. And that's what we needed. We actually, these Skyclave Apparitions, we found some targets this game. I was a little concerned after that first Vraska's Contempt, you know, getting kind of a 2-for-1 by exiling this, in the sense that we don't get to cast it later like we expected. But the Skyclave Apparitions are doing work, and our opponent now looking for help with those clues gone. We did it. We beat 3 Tireless Trackers. What a match! Tribal Angels, everybody. Welcome to Pioneer. And thanks to the power of editing, we're back. Let's play our Selfless Spirit and do it. I'm going to say that forever. Selfless Savior. Selfless Spirit is also a very good card, and one I've cast a few times myself. But this is not. This is not a spirit. This is a dog. Selfless Savior the dog. Selfless Savior. Okay, well, we're on the play. So the Knight of the White Orchid is sort of medium here in that sense. In another sense, it's good. It just, we need to put pressure on our opponent. Which, you know, it did make me tempted to play it there. I didn't, but I thought about it. Because our opponent's probably on some blue-white, you know, Teferi pile over there. So maybe we just want to put as much pressure on as possible. But given the quarantine field, given the fact we do have expensive angels in our deck, I don't necessarily have to play it. And Emeria's Calls, this is why. I mean, this is a card I'd like to cast, right? So here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass the turn back because I don't want to play my 3-drop. I don't want to play the Skyclave Apparition into nothing just as a Gray Ogre, a 3-mana 2/2. And I have no idea if this is correct. But I do know that against blue-white, we either have to put a lot of pressure on or we have to build a late game. And I don't know that playing a 1/1, a 1/4, and a 2/2 is the kind of pressure that wins you the game. So instead, I'm missing a land drop so that on this turn, I can play my Knight of the White Orchid to get one more total land into play by searching one out of my deck, all of which is leading to this end game where we can cast Emeria's Call rather than have to play it as a land. That's the hope. Because we're going to need every resource we can in the late game, right? That's where we're at here. No. The perfect counter for Knight of the White Orchid, right there, the Jawari Disruption, Force Spiked us. Which I wanted to be one short. Usually this is a complete feel bads, but in this case it actually kind of made sense, right? Well, let's try that again, please. Alright, this one worked. Alright, I am going to have to put this into play tapped. I think we are just going to have to get them into play. This puts us up to 5. We're still a couple away, but at least now we're in a situation where if we draw creatures, good. If we draw lands, well, at least we're attempting to build towards something, right? Sooner or later, our opponent's going to board wipe us, whether they're just going to blast zone here, put counters on it, go up to 2. Yeah, that's what I figured. They can use the blast zone to get my Knight of the White Orchid and the Bishop of Wings, or really the Selfless Savior. I mean, it's a pretty bad 2-for-1, but it is a 2-for-1, and the 1 in their case is a land, so it is a play I wouldn't be surprised to see them make. But, you know, hey, Teferi's a play they can make too. And unfortunately, Teferi at 5 loyalty feels a little out of my reach right now. Skyclave Apparition hits CMC 4 or less. Does not hit Teferi. I guess we send in the Toon Squad here and hope that it works out. Okay, I wonder what happens if I just do nothing. Or if I just play I should play Archangel of Tithes. My opponent almost surely has a Supreme Verdict here, but keep in mind, we're not out of the woods yet, right? This, in the sense that I suppose what I should say is we're still in the woods. Our opponent is not out of the woods yet just because they're untapping with Teferi, because we have the Quarantine Field, which we can X equals 1 to get rid of it if we need to. And maybe I was supposed to X equals 1 on Teferi there and attack them, I don't know. Rather than add to the board. But adding to the board is good if they... Here's my thought process. If they have a Supreme Verdict, we get to protect an Angel, try to swing it at Teferi. And if they have an answer for that Angel, then, well, we get to play Quarantine Field and get rid of Teferi. But this might force them to make slightly different plays. And if they don't have all of that, we might just get Teferi with our creatures and never have to burn the Quarantine Field, and then we can have it for the next one. And our opponent is going the blocker route here with the Skyclave Cleric. DFC is pretty good. But yeah, we get an opportunity at least to take down the Teferi here. That's what I'm going to do. So we'll send this at them, this at them, this at Teferi. I suppose I should send the whole team at Teferi here. Although the Bishop of Wings going in at Teferi doesn't actually do much. All of this would mean we're just poking Teferi for 1. If I wanted to kill it, I have to commit to attacking with a Selfless Savior. And honestly, there's just not even reason to attack then, is there? It's either attack both of these at Teferi to try to get in 1 point on it. I think we just do this. I think we just send the Archangel at Teferi and see what happens. Wow, it's an Azorius Charm. It's been a minute since I've been hit by an Azorius Charm. I have to say, though, it's a pretty good mana-efficient answer in this case, because if this Quarantine Field doesn't work, if they have the counterspell here, we're going to lose. Okay. Does anyone else see the problem here? Did I overpay? Is that the issue? Thing only costs 4? Okay. Well, I guess we're not going to get Force Spiked out of it. There we go. Alright, let's see if this works. I think the play might have been to... I don't know. This play might have been wrong. Maybe I was supposed to just Quarantine Field to... We were never going to Quarantine Field Teferi, as a matter of fact. We were always dead. Teferi untapping Dovin's Veto mana is an interaction I really don't think they thought through. Not that these, you know, weren't... I don't even think they were in Standard at the same time, but Dovin's Veto itself is kind of an unfun card. It's a neat design. It's a good effect for Azorius. There's nothing wrong with it, but it sure does remove a lot of the tension from stuff, right? And the fact that Teferi conveniently untaps exactly what you need to hold up Dovin's Veto to protect Teferi from removal, it's actually kind of an oppressive interaction in the abstract. It's obviously fine in the context of the format, but it's not very fun. I just wanted to answer the Teferi. This game's going to be really hard now. I don't know that we're out of it, but we're very close to out of it. The thing is, we were always out of it, though, because of that Dovin's Veto. Yeah, the Blast Zone can blow up this stuff here. I can play more stuff. I'm just not sure if we can beat... Teferi's just gonna... I want to scoop because we're just dead. I shouldn't. It feels very dead, though. Alright, well, we don't have any attacks, so we will pass the turn here. They didn't even blow it. So the thing is, the Blast Zone can hit 2 of my creatures, or at least 1 of my creatures. You know, I have the Archangel now, but Teferi is often off and running here. I'm not sure how we're going to get back into this one. They've drawn 4 or 5 cards off of it. So even if we were to answer Teferi at this point, I'm not sure it's realistically even going to make a difference. That's why, you know, I shouldn't scoop, but it sure kind of feels like scooping, right? Well, Archangel of Tithes will attempt to attack Teferi. Yeah, that feels even worse than my opponent killing our angel. That means that they just knew they could take the hit. Is this a Sphinx's Revelation? Alright, a Shark Typhoon. We're done here. We're done here. Alright, we'll give this a shot. So, cut a Quarantine Field. Cut a Skyclave Apparition. We just want to beat down. Interesting, we end up in the beatdown roll a lot here, but that's where we're at. I'm going to keep the 1 needle in here just because, hey, why not? I could name Teferi if we get it, and, you know, we never have to worry about drawing too many this way, right? The Bishop Wings, I'm going to cut a little bit. I'm not sure if that's good or not, because the thing is, they are sort of Wrath protection, in that you can get 1/1s. I'm just not sure if playing the 1/4 for 2 is where we want to be for that. So we'll see. I mean, something like resolving a Legion Angel would be pretty nice, right? I think this is the most aggressive version of the deck we can be, though. We've got wider answers, more power at the 2-drop spot, the Tithe Takers, leave behind tokens. We've got, you know, everything else can attack. I think this is where we want to be. You know, more aggro. I mean, this is honestly probably the best build, right? I don't even know if we could get more aggressive than this if we wanted to. I don't think you ever want to bring the other Legion Angels in. The whole point is that they're in your sideboard. The Rest in Peace don't really fit here. The Baffling End, Containment Priest. I suppose we could get slightly more aggressive. I could cut the Bishop of Wings. And I could play the Containment Priests. Because they are Grizzly Bears. 2/2s with Flash. Instead of 1/4s. I don't know if that's a real thing. But it is certainly an option available to us. So, and here we go with the Bishop of Wings. I don't think I can mulligan this hand, but it's not very good. I don't think I can mulligan this, but it is not really what we wanted. I mean, the thing is, the Bishop of Wings, that's two devotion. We'll get going, right? We will start down the path to casting these cards and hoping they matter. And driving the Thraben Inspector is a pretty good one, because next turn we can play the Thraben Inspector and crack the clue from it. All while attacking our opponent for 1, I might add. The most important thing we'll be doing. This is an interesting one as far as double face cards to go. And the thing is, it might be better than just playing like the mythic one that we're playing, because this blue-white deck maybe just wants a 1/3 to block sometimes. Like now. Just our entire aggro game plan just out the window. 1/3 Skyclave Cleric. Our opponent has officially gotten their value. I don't know what we're supposed to do anymore. Alright, well, this game plan for us hinges on drawing some lands. So, it's already going to be kind of iffy. The entire game plan breaks down if we miss land number 4 or 5 here. This is now breaking even on mana. The Nykthos is. Hope we find a land off the. Alright, we did it. Well, it's unlikely to get a lot of value out of this thing otherwise, so I'm just going to do it. I understand how stupid this is, but our opponent's probably not going to play anything else that Skyclave Apparition can even target in a relevant time frame. And it looks stupid, but this allows us to start attacking for 2. So it's what we got to do. It also, for what it's worth, it puts 2 more devotion into play. So when we untap, we have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana from the Nykthos, plus a land. So we have 6 mana when we untap now, thanks to just playing out that Skyclave Apparition. So it is a difference between playing a 5-drop or not next turn on top of everything else. And as it stands, here's the Supreme Verdict. It's just a 2-for-1 because we had the clue. It's pretty much the best we can do. Yeah, we'll reload here. This is 3 Devotion. This isn't enough to cast a 5-drop. The Angel of Sanctions can at least eat this thing later. So we don't really... That's the other nice part about the Skyclave Apparitions is leaving behind the 2-2 body is kind of annoying when we're playing things like 2-2s. But we have enough effects that can just kind of get rid of it in a matchup like this. Also, I could do something with this Quarantine Field. I could play it for 1 as it stands now. Gideon is an interesting draw. And I mean, Gideon's the play, so I don't even want to attack with the Tithe Taker. I just don't even want to trade it with anything here. I want to play Gideon. And plus Gideon on the Shark token. So we've got a blocker for the ground token. We've got the Gideon for the Shark token. And when we untap, we have Angel of Sanctions to get rid of something. And hopefully start attacking. Now, the problem with all of this is, we're doing fine, I guess. Honestly, as fine as I think you reasonably can in this circumstance here. But our opponent is cycling for land. So if they find their land drops, we're going to be in trouble anyways, and that's what they're doing. But if your blue-white control opponent is playing to the board and you're excited because you're answering their board state, that's not really where you want to be. Cards in hand against your blue-white opponent is sort of the most relevant metric, typically. All right, well, I can make some mana here. I can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 6 total. Good Quarantine Field X equals 2. Might be the best Quarantine Field we're going to pull off, actually. Alternatively, though, we could play an Angel of Sanctions. I feel like we're just tempting another Wrath from our opponent. I really do feel like the Quarantine Field here, just getting rid of the Shark tokens, attacking, turning Gideon into a creature and attacking. I actually think that's the aggro play we're going to need here. It also means my opponent can't kill the Gideon afterwards, because it'll have too much loyalty. Shark and Shark, get out of here, please. I mean, the crazy thing is we're still down. We're not even... I think we probably broke even on mana or something, and we're down a card because Shark Typhoon does that by cycling. I'm going to keep the Tithe Taker back, because if my opponent wraths the board, I'd like to have a 2-1. I'd like to have the 1-1. And the Illusion would have just traded with it this turn. Otherwise, the Illusion doesn't really do anything. Because it can't block the Knight or the just chump blocking. Well, let's see what the follow-up is for my opponent here. It is Teferi. Okay? Well, this might be okay. This could be a circumstance where we can beat Teferi, because I'm going to play Nykthos for... activate Nykthos for a lot of mana. And I'm going to use Angel of Sanctions to get rid of that Teferi. At least for now. Our opponent now has 6 mana, so they've kind of, hit that point where they want to be. So it's a tough matchup for us, I think, no matter how we look at it. But I could cast this. I don't think it would be... I actually don't think it would be good to cast right now, but I could. Alright, Angel of Sanctions to hopefully get rid of Teferi here. Yeah. Can't Dovin's veto this one. Turn Gideon into a creature and we will attack again. Well, this is what makes our opponent wrath, right? Oh, they're actually adding mana here? What's going on in our combat? They're going to opt. That's fine. So, this is the board state that makes our opponent want a Wrath. We put out a creature-based answer to Teferi. We're attacking them for damage. This is where they're going to want to pull the trigger on that. The problem, and that's good for them, I won't lie, right? Like, 4 mana to Supreme Verdict here, and then you get your Teferi back, and then you activate Teferi. They're going to have a lot of mana, a lot of options, and a clear board. This is going to be good for them. This is just not a good matchup for us. Playing big, expensive creatures into board wipes is not at all where you want to be. But we've at least got a shot here thanks to Gideon. You know, Teferi is going to go up to 5. And we have a Spirit token in a Gideon that can apply 5 points of damage. The problem is that relies on our opponent with 7 cards in hand. Having no way with their 4 mana available to answer either of our creatures, so this is going to be a rough one. No Dovin's Veto. Oh, they do have Dovin's Veto. Yep. They can blow the Blast Zone for 1, although that's not actually super relevant. Well, let's go for it, I guess. Send these at Teferi. Wow. Seal away for the Gideon, huh? That's a good answer. Frankly, that one might do us in. Once your opponent untaps with Teferi, it's pretty difficult to win. So, okay. Well, to consider Teferi poked down, we'll play our Archangel of Tithes here. And I guess hope that it's good enough. I mean, the thing is, our opponent, if we have access to the mana, and you know, the thing is, I did there. I could have spent my mana there just to bring back the Angel of Sanctions, or does that cost 6? Actually, it costs 6. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I shouldn't even have enough there. I will if I untap, though. I guess maybe I could have played this and done that, but I just don't think any of this wins. And now that our opponents dig through time, I think this one's over. Chalk this one up to a bad matchup. Our mid-range Angels deck not cut out to beat Teferi, it seems. We'll give it a minute here, but I think our opponent kept a Mana Light. Or that might even been the game they played a 1-3, so maybe they did have lands. I don't really know. I know that they are completely rolling now. They have access to all their mana, despite having cast an 8-mana spell on their turn. That's pretty good. Well, you know what? I will cast Emeria's Call before I scoop. I want to live the dream of getting the front side of the card. How dare you tap mana in response to this? How dare you commit my Emeria's Call? The fairy players, am I right? I'm just kidding. Good game. Good match. Blue-white control. Maybe not the best matchup for this deck, but that was a fun one. Let's jump into the next one, see if we can do any better. All right, trying to pick up a win here with the deck. I think this is a pretty nice hand. Doesn't get much better than this, as a matter of fact. 1, 2, 3, 5 is our curve in hand here. And you know what? We'll use this Thraben Inspector to round it out. So we're on the draw, but our opponent mulligan to 5. So feeling all right with where things are starting out. And you know what? If our opponent's on a basic mountain strategy, kind of liking the fact that all 3 of the cards left in our hand gain life in one way or another, hopefully. Eventually, anyways. And I mean, look, if our opponent's going to shock this or whatever, that's fine too. So I have to say this is pretty much the ideal start. And this is a good hand against a mountain deck. Although I have to say, now I don't know what's up. Now it looks like a combo deck. You draw a card, you lose a life. Oh, this might be something spicy, as a matter of fact. Well, okay, then I guess we'll play a Daxos, and we'll start attacking. We'll just beat down as fast as we can, and hopefully kill our opponent before they figure out whatever the heck combo they're putting together over there. The one thing I have to say this mono white life gain deck, or I'm sorry, mono white angels deck does well is life gain, but what it does not do well is disrupting blue-red combo decks. What the heck are we looking at? I have to say, I'm intrigued. You have my attention, and that's why I'm going to Skyclave Apparition down this caravan. Because I don't know what they want to use that for, but no good can come out of letting an opponent doing combo-looking things have extra mana that can also become a 5/5. I guess we'll attack for 3. Next turn, it's probably the Angel, even though we could go Knight plus Crack Clue, but it's probably Resplendent Angel, because on 5 we want to go Dawnbringer, and on 6 we want to activate that Resplendent Angel. You know, in the world where we draw lands, we don't ever even want to play this Knight of the White Orchid until turn 7 or so, but our opponent still ramping, still playing artifacts. I hope to never find out what they're doing with all of that. Now I'll just play this Archangel of Tithes, though. Look, I'm terrified of whatever is going on. We have the world's most anemic beatdown. We're coming in for 5 damage, putting them to 10 here. They're powering up over there. They're charging up. They got the sweet colorless lands. They've got the card draw. They've got the mana and the card draw here. And things can get ugly pretty fast. My opponent's going to untap with access to at least 7 mana. I don't know what the combo is, though. I'll say that. I know that you don't play Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot by accident, though, and that's in no way a slide on the card. It draws a card, loses a life for 2. That cycles, and then it can do the same later. That's value if you have a way to, if you're looking for things that trigger off of artifacts, and I imagine our opponent has some kind of improvised type cards in there. You could do a lot worse than this for your 2 mana. There's another Hedron Archive. I can attack my opponent for 8, which is not lethal. Which means I am heckin' terrified. But we'll attack and see how it goes, I guess. We're just gonna take it, huh? Well, I guess I play a Knight just to have another creature. I can't really imagine this Knight making the difference, but I'd feel really silly if it did. And with our opponent at 2, if the 4 reload creatures in our hand aren't enough, then this, the 5th card, the Knight of the White Orchid, wasn't going to make the difference either. If our opponent starts doing some kind of life gain plus token things and is sitting at 3 life and they have a couple of chump blocks, that sort of thing, I'd feel pretty silly having not played out an extra Knight. Which, by the way, gets me my 5th land to cast these. And there you go. We did not have to worry about whatever the heck our opponent was doing that time around. I don't even know what we're going to Deafening Silence get in here, please. I don't even know what we're naming with Pithing Needle. No idea what... I don't know what we're supposed to be hedging against here, what we're supposed to be preparing for. It's why you play a rogue deck. In this case, some kind of combo looking thing. Blue-red artifacts is what we saw. But also black artifacts? I mean, the first half of that Puzzle Knot, if you're just looking for 2 mana artifacts to build your combo deck on. And then we've seen a long history of things that just cycle. Back in the day, I played a combo deck. This was a real deck. This was a standard meta deck at the time, but you played Elsewhere Flask and Kaleidostone, I think it was called. All of these 2-mana rocks, they're not even rocks. They were just 2-mana artifacts that drew a card when they came into play, and then you could sacrifice them. They'd do some effect. The whole thing was that you would just eventually sacrifice them to Time Sieve, and then you would play Open the Vaults, bring it all back, and you just end up taking all the turns. It's a really fun deck, honestly, with border posts and stuff, if that'll date me here about how old it was. But it was a fun deck. This hand looks pretty good, though. I have no idea if this Rest in Peace is going to matter. If our opponent's going to care. If it's going to have any effect at all. Makes our Angel of Sanctions a little worse, but I figured we could hedge a little bit, so we did. The Bishop of Wings certainly weren't doing much. Yeah, you know what? That other, I was talking about Elsewhere Flask. I believe the other one at that time was, in fact, Prophetic Prism. So there you go. We'll see what they're trying to actually do with it. But I certainly understand the concept. It looks like they're just doing nothing, just playing these rocks, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it's something. That tends to be how it goes. So I'm going to go for a no value Knight of the White Orchid here because I do have lands 3 and 4 in hand. Should I need them, we have the Clue to Crack as well. Let's just put some power into play and try to attack and see where things go, I guess. Whatever they're trying to combo, it doesn't seem particularly fast, at least. It is 3 mana. Now, that is a scary one. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. If I let them untap with that, I think things could get pretty ugly. But can I stop them? I can Quarantine Field for 0. That's not enough. That means things are going to get ugly. Oh, man. I can Quarantine... Yeah, I already played a land. Oof. Okay. Well, in that case, then I guess it's the Selfless Savior plus the Rest in Peace just for the Devotion pips. You know, if this is the mana where you have to work with this game, let's make it work for us. And like I said, I don't know what my opponent's combo is. I know that untapping with a Foundry Inspector might help them do it, though. So we'll find out if Rest in Peace is... For all I know, we just played this and our opponent's like, why the heck did they board that in? Doesn't do anything. But maybe they're also like, oh, snaps. Oh, fiddlesticks. I lost the game. And they could be saying that. That's the thing people say. My opponent's like 85 years old anyways. 85-year-olds playing Theros Beyond lands and combo decks and saying fiddlesticks. It's another night on Magic Online. All right. Anyways, back to what's actually happening. Our opponent is playing the boat. The terror of a standard format. The boat itself. Sky Sovereign, the console flagship. Okay. Oh. Guess I do this. I guess I have to keep my devotion count up here. And that actually is the critical one. That's the one that makes us 4. That allows us to Quarantine Field away the console flagship. It is a heck of a... I don't know if it's sideboard or mainboard, but... No, they had several rounds of bannings back with Kaladesh. Shocker, I know. It's... Tell me a new one. But every single metagame, when this card was legal, seemed to devolve into Sky Sovereign mirrors. And not because this card's incredibly powerful. It's very good. It's just every single deck, every single format, basically, within that time period, with different sets coming out and bans and so on, just eventually seemed to devolve into a mid-range fest where it was all about the Sky Sovereign. I don't know if it was good or bad. I mean, with the formats we have now, who knows, right? You just kind of take them as you go. Well, this is a land. What does this do? This gives me 4. If I play this Nykthos, I can actually go up to more. So we have 6. So I can go up to 7 if I wanted to with this. I could play the Angel, crack the clue. I think I'm just going to play the Angel. Well, you know what? 6 is, I take that back. 6 is a number that is good for a lot more than that Angel of Sanctions. I'm going to actually make the correct play here, and I'm going to quarantine field away the Sky Sovereign and the Foundry Inspector. Not only does that allow me to hit my opponent for 3, it's the most mana efficient thing I can do, and it messes with my opponent. It messes with their mid-range game plan of beating me with the boat, and it messes with their combo game plan of Foundry Inspectoring me out. So let's swing for 3. That Nykthos was a nice draw there. You know, as far as drawing legendary lands when you already have a copy of the legendary land in play goes, that was about as good as it gets. So I feel good about that turn. I wish our opponent was at a lower life total here, but I did feel good about that turn. All right, the Gluttonous Crane looks for an artifact. Dig, dig, dig. And they hit a Metal Spinner's Puzzler Knot. Gluttonous Crane is a 1/3 flyer, actually. Not only is it dig, 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 it blocks, blocks, blocks. And in this case, it's preventing 2 a turn. That said, I'm going to have a big Nykthos turn here, I think. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Devotion in play. So if we hit a land, I can play Emeria's Call. If not, I can play Angel of Sanctions. I guess figure out what to do from there. Honestly, don't know what I want to do. Another Angel of Sanctions. In that case, it's just beatdown time. I can also crack the clue first. If we hit a land, we can still play an Angel. If not, I'll make up my mind about this. Rest in Peace is like kind of one of the worst draws. I guess I'll play it. Gives us more devotion. It was one of the worst draws because, look, land allows us to play the Angel of Sanctions. Non-land we can likely cast, unless it's a 5-drop. The second Rest in Peace, not the best one there. I really wanted to just hit land, but we'll see. You know, look, I could have used this, but I feel like we're going to need to cast that, frankly, is what that comes down to. And the thing is, now I can do that, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Devotion in play now, so the Nykthos will make enough mana to cast Emeria's Call. So there's just no way it's worth making Emeria's Call land this turn to play out a 3/4, and then not having the ability to play it for the rest of the game. With no idea what our opponent is up to, I'm just going to make the 4/4s next turn and attack, and just put as much power into play as we can. I don't know if the Rest in Pieces are doing work right now. I don't know if my opponent just doesn't have it. I know that they're still digging, and they could find it at any time, but digging is better than not digging, I guess, if you're playing against a combo deck on turn 6 or 7. I'm going to guess that the Rest in Pieces are doing some work, right? I see blue, black, and I see Ether Hub, which means there's other colors of mana, the prisms, whatever. They probably have Dance of the Manse, something like that. Something that can return all of the artifacts from the graveyard to play. There's also, you know, I would assume a sack outlet involved. But I don't know. There's our land. We do this now. We'll cast Emeria's Call. We did it. Create 2 4/4 white angels. Non-angel creatures have indestructible until my next turn. Now, keep in mind that wording. In case the card wasn't good enough, you know, being a land and a spell, it gives them indestructible until your next turn. Pretty good. Non-angels, of course. So these angels are not indestructible. But these creatures are. And look, I don't know if my opponent's playing board wipes or anything like that, but I was thinking about the card in Commander. Seems pretty powerful. You know, I was talking to Jason Alt. We do Brainstorm Brewery podcast together. He's the general manager, essentially, of EDH Rec. And I asked him on the podcast, what do you think about DFCs now, a month into Zendikar? And he said, I said they were good, and I underrated them. So, in case you're wondering how powerful these DFCs are in every format, the answer is very, and that includes Commander. Here's one. I love this card. Glassblower's Puzzle Knot. Scry 2, get 2 energy. Sack it. Scry 2, get 2 energy. It does not draw, but Scry 4 and a bunch of energy. This was always a neat card. If it drew when it came into play, if it was Scry 2, then draw, that's what it would say in 2020. It'd be crazy. All right, somehow our opponent just passed the turn back after all of that, so I'm going to go to town here as best as I can anyways. 7 mana, we're going to play an Angel of Sanctions. We're going to hit the Foundry Inspector. That thing's got to go. All right, I'm going to lose. Well, I guess I actually could have played another Angel here, but I don't even know if I want to. But in case there's a board wipe, but it settled the Righteous, that sort of thing. But it doesn't matter because our opponent did not have it. I don't know what they want to do with all those artifacts, but like I said, I'm glad we never found out because Rest in Peace likely cut them off. What a match, everybody. This deck was really, really fun. We saw the good end of the matchups. We saw the bad end with blue-white. I guess we saw whatever this was in between. But look, this is a really cool deck. You can see the way the matchups can play out, the life gain you have access to. This is a really fun deck. Tribal Angels in Pioneer, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And as far as the deck goes, let's go check it out. Will we change anything about this deck? I don't know. I mean, because it's Tribal Angels. I don't know, right? But I do have to say, excuse me, we're at 21 lands, 25 with the DFCs. And I think that's probably fine. The thing is, the deck does have a lot of 4 and 5 drops. And, you know, embalm costs are 6. And maybe you actually want to cast an Emeria sometime. I don't know what you want to do if you want to just add another land. I don't even think you need one, but we can probably do better than all these planes, right? We maybe get another land or 2 in there that can give you some work. The Bishop of Wings, I think, are basically a must-have in these Angel decks. Because just the fact that you can play a good blocker in the Bishop and then gain a bunch of life and get out of the range of aggro opponents is part of the appeal of playing this deck. We didn't run into those, but so the Bishop of Wings are kind of bad, but that is one of the reasons you play the deck. The Daxos, the Knight of the White Orchids, these are your flex spots. You could turn these into more removal if you wanted. You could turn them into more Angels if you wanted. A 4 Selfless Savior, you know, have your pick, but these are probably the 4 spots if you're looking at it. The Gideons, I don't think you want to cut. They're just good. Resplendent Angel is non-negotiable. The Angels pretty much aren't. And Skyclave Apparition, I think, is too good to cut it all. This card is very powerful. Heck, gosh, you might even want a 3rd. The Quarantine Fields are what remains, and I don't know. I was pretty medium on them, but it felt like games where we had big devotion to do a big Quarantine Field, we didn't need Quarantine Field, right? So I don't know. Play 1, make the other one a 3rd Skyclave Apparition, maybe. You might get somewhere like that. Sideboard, it's what you make it. I actually like the Tithe Taker planes. There are decks where you need to go aggressive. There are matchups where you have to do that, so I might even lean into that a little more. Other than that, you know, it's mono white deck. The sideboard cards are the sideboard cards you've got. You're seeing the important ones. Deafening Silence, Baffling End, Containment Priest, Rest in Peace, Tithe Taker. I'd say those are sort of the basis of your mono white sideboard. Go from there. But everybody, thank you so much for watching Punting Pioneer here on Cool Stuff Inc. As always, I'm Corbin Hosler. I'll see you next time.